It's Nicola here at the Disasters Emergency Committee on day 6 of our East Africa Crisis Appeal. And as I've said earlier in the day, it's been a really busy day with many guests visiting DEC HQ. The Secretary of State for International Development, Priti Patel, has just left the building. She was here to meet the team running the appeal and also to talk about the generous donation of the British government, which is now matching your donations pound for pound up to 10 million. That's £5 million more than at the beginning of this appeal. So that's fabulous news. If you donate now, your donation will be matched pound for pound by the British government. And I was joined an hour or so ago on the sofa here at DEC HQ by Channel 4's Jon Snow giving a drum roll to the new fundraising total that we're announcing now. So that amount is £24 million raised so far since the launch of this appeal. So thank you, British public. Your response has been absolutely fantastic, and keep that money rolling in. I'm joined now by some aid workers just back from the field. I'm joined by Richard from Oxfam, who has just got back from South Sudan last week, and by Suzy from Care International, who arrived back from Somalia yesterday. Welcome, Richard and Suzy.
Thank you.
So, Richard, tell us about the situation on the ground that you saw in South Sudan.
Yeah, I was in Unity State in South Sudan, which is the state where the famine has been declared, in the south of that area, and I was working in an area which is covered in swamps. We went on canoes up to visit people who've been living on islands within those swamps, and saw there that not only did you have the people who were living on those islands, but you also had other people who were travelling to get away from the conflict areas further to the north. So we saw people who were travelling in canoes, dragging plastic sheeting with all their possessions wrapped in behind the canoes, or just simply walking and dragging their possessions behind them as they were moving towards the cities where they potentially could get aid.
And Suzy, you're just back from Somalia last night, so tell us what you saw there.
Yep, so we were up in the northwest of Somalia, and we were driving for over 700 kilometres in one direction, and I lost count of the number of dry rivers that we crossed. So we spoke to a lot of people out there who've been displaced, many people who've lost all their livestock. And we were visiting a well that was repaired by Care International last year in preparation for drought, actually. And I was sort of talking to some women there, and one of the women was telling me, yep, I've walked over 5 hours just to get here to take water. And I was saying, you know, it's incredible, 5 hours journey each day to get water. And she was like, well, actually it's 5 hours in one direction and 5 hours back carrying the water. So needs are very high.
That's incredible, 10 hours in a day walking for water.
Yeah.
Goodness me. Richard and Suzy, one of the things when Jon Snow was in earlier we were talking about was that the donations by the British public are incredibly generous, and sometimes, you know, people get the view that we're giving a handout to people in the developing world, and in some times, you know, the needs are so overwhelming that we do need to give aid, but in fact it's much more of a hand up, and I know that, you know, these are very proud people who are busy helping each other as we speak and doing whatever they can to get out of the situation. Did you see this, Richard, in South Sudan?
Oh, definitely, and on the islands I was talking about, there's people who've been living on those islands for a couple of years, and they've developed their own coping mechanisms, and they get water lilies from the swamps, which they eat, and they also fish. And they were very proud to show us the kind of the food materials that they're getting together by really kind of going out in canoes and really searching for things that they can eat. But then they have people who are travelling down from the conflict-affected areas, and they're sharing what they get with those people. So people will stay overnight or for a couple of days while they regain strength to carry on their journeys, and everything that they've got, they're willing to share with those other people.
That's incredible. And Suzy, did you have the same experience in Somalia?
Absolutely. So we met a community who were living in poverty themselves, and yet each of the households in that community were hosting 2 or 3 extra families themselves. And another thing that struck me a lot, so Care has been working with communities out there on a village loan association that they set up. It's run by women. So these women pay money into these savings accounts over time, and then in times of crisis then have assets of their own, capital to draw on. And one of the most striking examples of this was not only were they helping, the poor, the most vulnerable of their own communities. There was one village whereby there had been incomers, newly displaced into the village, and that community was using some of their own money from this savings to organise water trucking to help the newcomers. So, I mean, for me, that's the thing. It's they're really trying to help themselves as much as possible.
That's incredible. Well, again, I wanted to thank the British public for their incredible generosity so far, £24 million and counting. But as you've heard, your money will help people suffering a terrible situation, unprecedented in East Africa, where 16 million people face the prospect of starving to death across Somalia, South Sudan and parts of Kenya and Ethiopia. But as you've heard from Richard and Suzy, it is not all about us sending help to them. The people in those countries are trying to help themselves in an unprecedented situation with a terrible drought. So please continue your generosity and don't delay, donate.